to go. All right, Paul, why is this an important decision to be made?
Well, first off, you want consistency across the country, and we knew that Hockey Quebec started body checking at the bantam level. Many of the provinces up until a couple of weeks ago were at the Peewee level. Nova Scotia moved to the bantam level. Alberta moved to the bantam level. And so it was really important that all branches look at it and try to establish that consistent platform so that it allows us as a national organization to be consistent in our delivery of material and consistent in the way that we're developing young players in the sport.
How does this help the sport?
Well, it helps on a lot of fronts, and it's interesting because, you know, while there's a lot of focus around the safety side of things, and no question that that's important, we want youngsters to have a safe, positive experience every day that they go to the rink. And we know that body checking brings with it an increase in injuries. So we looked at research that said that even when you delay the introduction of body checking until an age where bantam, for example, is the first time players body check, you have an elevated risk of injury, but it's the same as it is with bantam hockey players that have already had body checking. So we wanted to make sure we addressed that issue right up front and say, look, there's no protective effect. So what we want to focus on is body contact, making sure that kids have contact confidence, good body contact skills, that they know how to go to play for a loose puck, and that they may be involved in contact, but it just can't be intentional body checking. So I think, to me, that's a great precursor, but what that does is it adds to building the skills, especially the offensive skills of young players. Now there's no fear of playing a loose puck with the idea that some larger player is going to run you over. So there's great opportunities for youngsters, in my mind, to develop that broader skill set without that focus on body checking.
What are the biggest challenges in a decision like this?
Well, the biggest challenges are that there are a lot of traditionalists in our game. The Canadian game is a fast-paced, hard-fought game. Youngsters want to emulate the way the pros play the game, the way the juniors play the game. And while I think that's important and to aspire to that level is a good thing, at the same time we have to recognize that they are youngsters that are still just developing that skill base. So, you know, as much as it's important for that skill to eventually find its way into the game for players at the elite level, for the broad-based recreational player, it's not that important. So, again, the challenge of the traditionalists saying, hey, body checking is a part of the game and should be introduced day one, that's not a correct way to think of this. The correct way to think of this is that, you know, there are a broad base of skills. We want to make sure kids have the opportunity to develop in the offensive area, the skating skills, puck handling skills, the creativity of the game, and then eventually start to introduce those more challenging skills like body checking.
You talked about making sure people know that, well, there is no body checking, body contact is still part of the game. What's the key to make sure people are educated on this?
Well, we've got educational programs, and one of the mandates that we were given by the board today through one of the recommendations was that we come to grips with a national curriculum and that all branches would be mandated to ensure that coaches are getting instruction in the checking game, that they understand the 4 phases of checking. The other part of it is the research, understanding that we need to continue to research how checking impacts on the game. Knowledge translation, like once coaches are trained, how does that translate into skill development for youngsters? How does that translate into the types of practices they run? So I think it's important for people to know that there are resources in place, there's great resources in place. We're just working towards a standardized process of delivery, a standardized process of creating the resources that support coaches across the country.